Honorable Ralph Northam.
Granny, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, good afternoon and Happy New Year to all of you. I hope that you are healthy and safe, and looking forward to hopefully a better 2022 than 21. But anyway, Grinley, thank you so much, first of all, for your introduction, but more importantly for your leadership and your vision, working with Joe and all the other staff here to make these wonderful things happen. And I'm like you, when we walk around Capitol Square now, I think it's something that we all feel welcome, and we can all certainly feel proud. So thank you. And to all of you that have come out on somewhat of a chilly day, I see some of you are dressed more appropriately than others, but welcome to all of you. We have a lot of dignitaries. I'm sure there are a lot of people that should be recognized, but I do want to take the opportunity to recognize one of my friends, President Abdullah, who is the president of Virginia State University. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for your leadership, and it's very important to be here, for you to be here, all the great work that you've done. But two of the individuals that we're honoring today, as you all know, are graduates of our historically black colleges and universities in Virginia, and so we're very proud of that. But Abdullah, thank you so much for being here. It seems, Joe, that Capitol Square has been under construction for the whole 4 years that I've been governor. Between the new General Assembly building, the addition of monuments that recognize the contributions of women and Virginia tribal nations, and the building that you see behind me, our Department of General Services has had a very busy 4 years. I want to take this opportunity to thank DGS and its director, Joe D'Amico, for being such thoughtful stewards of the historic buildings. Yes, Dina, thank you for that, of the historic buildings and grounds at Capitol Square, and for doing such a great job of managing all of the projects that we have going here. Capitol Square has served as the seat of our government since the late 1700s. It has been the site of a tremendous amount of history, and it serves the dual roles of reflecting our history and past while functioning as a modern state capitol. Today, we are dedicating 3 buildings that also serve that dual purpose. They reflect the history of this place while serving its future. Behind me is Morrison's Row. These row houses are named after the original owner, Richmond attorney James Marion Morrison, who had the row homes built as investment properties in the 1850s. Think about that, the 1850s, prior to the Civil War. To put things in perspective, the governor's mansion, which is the longest continuously lived in mansion, was built in 1813. There is a tremendous amount of history around where you all are standing. They're the last example of what was once a bustling residential area surrounding Capitol Square, and are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. These were homes of doctors, tobacco manufacturers, and also a grocer. They also housed a prep school for boys who wanted to become doctors. And at one point, the row was headquarters for a publishing company. People lived and worked right here, including enslaved domestic servants. During our term as governor, we have worked to tell the full and true story of Virginia's history, all of our history. While we can't right the wrongs of the past, we can acknowledge them and honor those who pushed back against the racism and discrimination that was part of our history. That's why today we are dedicating this historic building in honor of a Virginian who fought for the rights of black Virginians to have a voice in politics and in their government. In 1968, William Ferguson Fergie Reed became the first African American elected to the Virginia General Assembly since Reconstruction. Before that, he co-founded the Richmond Crusade for Voters in an effort to mobilize African American voters during massive resistance. A Richmond native and Korean War veteran, Reed was a surgeon here in Richmond, and his 3 children all followed in his medical footsteps. In 1968, Reed became the first African American elected to the General Assembly since 1891. He won a seat in the House of Delegates and served for 3 terms. Fergie Reed is now 96 years old and lives in California, but he still keeps up with Virginia politics. For his 90th birthday, the 90 for 90 voter registration project was established in his honor with the commitment to register new voters in Virginia. You will hear from Mr. Reed in just a bit. So today I'm pleased to dedicate and rename this row of houses Reed's Row. This is a fitting name for a building that is so close to the center of our government, a government that is better and stronger when we include and honor all Virginians. Now, moving on to the Towns House. This one is very near and dear to Pam and me, and I'm sure all of the other governors that have served the Commonwealth. Reed's Row is made up of 3 separate row homes, and today we're naming one of those homes after a family that has devoted decades of service to Virginia's executive mansion. For those like me who have had the honor to live in the executive mansion, the staff becomes like family. Like us, they also have a front row seat to history. Now, many of you probably know Martin Tootie Towns. He is a legend. He is also the head butler at the executive mansion. Now, one of the quizzes I ask whenever people come and visit and I introduce Tootie to the guests is, how many governors do you think Tootie has, I'll say it nicely, had to tolerate? Does anybody know? I'm going to just ask anybody. Does anybody want to raise their hand? I am which governor that Tootie has taken care of as the governor and first lady? How many do you think? There's a big prize for this. You all are being very quiet. Tootie, tell them how many governors you've taken care of. 10. And still going. So Tootie has worked in the governor's mansion since 1984. What you may not know is that Tootie is one of 9 family members who have worked at the mansion since the 1970s. Tootie's mother, Doris Towns Fleming, worked here as a cook. His stepfather, William Fleming, was the butler. Tootie's wife, Stephanie, serves as the housekeeper. Tootie's son, Martin, is the deputy butler, and his daughter, Sherry, is a server. His brothers, Marvin Towns and Tony Towns, and cousin Janet Coleman also worked here. So if you think I'm the governor, everything happens because of Tootie, not me. Let's give Tootie a hand. Many governors owe Tootie and the entire Towns family a great deal. I know most Virginians don't have a household staff. I certainly did not grow up with people working in the household, but this mansion and the families who live here could not get by without the staff who work here. Tootie and his staff do an excellent job of taking care of me and Pam and any guests that we may have. They also are taking care of an historic building, a space that in most years hosts hundreds of events. They are managers, problem solvers, and trusted advisors. I cannot say thank you enough to Tootie Towns and his family and to all of the staff at our mansion. Dedicating one of the Reed houses, row houses, to the Towns family is a way to recognize just how much the towns have contributed and what a vital part of life in the mansion that they are. So again, on behalf of a lot of grateful governors and their families, their pets, their children, and a very grateful Commonwealth Tootie, to you and family, I say thank you and congratulations. Now, I want to go off script just a little bit, Tootie, and I haven't been responsible for the colors inside the building, but I do not want to walk in there and see gold and black that would be honoring the Pittsburgh Steelers, so let's make that clear right now. Let's talk about the Ferguson building. We're also dedicating a new K-9 training facility for the Division of Capitol Police, named in honor of First Lieutenant Rupert L. Sargent of Hampton, Virginia, who was the first African-American officer to be awarded the Medal of Honor for his service in the United States Army during the Vietnam War. Sargent served as a platoon leader of Company B, 4th Battalion, 9th Infantry, 25th Infantry Division in the United States Army. He was killed in action on March the 15th, 1967, in South Vietnam when he threw himself over 2 grenades, saving the lives of others in his platoon while sustaining mortal injuries. North Drive and 9th Street. Finally, today we celebrate the completion of the project to restore and improve entrances and areas around Capitol Square. On North Drive, the main vehicle entrance to Capitol Square, there used to be columns and gates. We've used an historic 1865 photograph to rebuild that entrance to add vehicle and pedestrian gates and other security measures. For many years, there has been a guardhouse near the Washington statue at that entrance. And for more than a decade, if you drove onto the Capitol grounds that way, you were greeted by a friendly, helpful Capitol Police officer, Master Officer Woodrow Buddy Dowdy. Buddy literally had a smile for everyone, and we continue to miss him. The new guardhouse at this entrance pays tribute to Officer Dowdy and his more than 30 years of dedicated service. I would like to also recognize Buddy's wife, Ms. Dowdy. Thank you so much for being with us. Please offer them a round of applause. And as Joe D'Amico can tell you, we have made other changes around the square, including improving the 9th Street sidewalk. Altogether, these renovations greatly improve the look of our magnificent Capitol grounds. I'm grateful to everyone who has done the work on these projects, and thank you all for coming out on a cold day for these dedications. And now we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'm going to come back and offer some more comments if that's what you all would want. No, just kidding. But thank you all for being here today, and I'll turn the podium over to Joe D'Amico. Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. We probably wanted to hear the governor's 5 additional minutes of comments because I got about 20. Governor, Secretary Johnson, thank you for your comments regarding these projects. And before I get into my comments, I really need to thank the First Lady for putting up with a construction project literally 100 feet from her bedroom and kitchen window. So, Ms. Northam, thank you very much. We're excited to have this opportunity to recognize Dr. Reed, the Towns family, Rupert Sargent, and Master Officer Buddy Dowdy, and to celebrate a few of the projects around Capitol Square. Thank you to our design and construction partners who have worked on these projects with us. Glave Homes, Vertexco Corporation, Commonwealth Architects, First Class Contracting, Daniel and Company, and RBA Architects. Thank you to our historic preservation partners who provided project input, the Commonwealth's Art and Architectural Review Board, the Capitol Square Preservation Council, and the Department of Historic Resources. And a big thank you to Chief of Staff Clark Mercer. Chief of Staff supported DGS and myself the entire 4 years on these projects, and anything we ever needed, the Chief was there to support us. I'd also like to thank the General Assembly, the clerks, Susan Shar and Suzette Denslow, the Division of Capitol Police, Colonel Pike, and the City of Richmond for their support. As stewards of Capitol Square and the buildings that are part of the Capitol Square complex, preserving the history framework of buildings such as Reed's Row is a top priority for DGS and its staff. Reed's Row is listed on the National Register of Historic Places as it represents the last example of residential row homes on Governor Street. As the governor mentioned, it housed many different businesses throughout the years. The row homes were built in the 1850s and purchased by the Commonwealth in the 1970s for state offices. As part of the renovation of this property, DGS is keeping some historic features of the homes, such as original fireplace mantels, the bow windows facing Governor Street, and even a door handle on the front door of Building 223 that has the state seal still engraved on it. The renovation will include making Reed's Row ADA accessible through an addition of a tower on the south side of the homes, which will house an elevator and other upgrades. When complete, Reed's Row will house state offices. Now it's my pleasure to ask you to turn your attention to the TV screen where Dr. William Ferguson Reed will provide a few remarks all the way from California. Takes a while for the audio to get from California to Virginia.
And while we're waiting for the volume, I want to recognize Delegate Lamont Bagby and Delegate Betsy Carr, who are here. And also thank Virginia Union for sending in Vice President and Representative Fergie Reed's a graduate of Virginia Union, and Mr. Sargent, a graduate of Virginia State. So thank you to our delegates for being here.
Okay, we'll come back to, oh, Aaron. Okay. All right, we'll come back to Dr. Reed's comments. Let's go on with the program. The second of three projects we're dedicating today is the Sargent Building, located on Old 14th Street. As the governor said, this building is used to be a storage facility for DGS, but is being renovated to serve as the K-9 training facility for the Division of Capitol Police. The building was completely gutted on the inside, and a new awning, access ramp, and windows were added to the structure. The inside of the building will house dog kennels and a training room for K-9 officers. There also is a fenced-in outdoor area attached to the north end of the building for the dogs. I would like to now welcome Chief of Police Colonel Pike to the podium to talk more about the building's operational use.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Governor, First Lady. Thank you for being here, members of the General Assembly, and distinguished guests. I'm very excited today to share the dedication of the newly constructed First Lieutenant Rupert L. Sargent K-9 training facility. As you know, K-9s have served proudly for years with our law enforcement departments and our U.S. military. Today, the Division of Capitol Police K-9s play an extremely important role in serving our community. This newly renovated state facility will offer 4,500 square feet of indoor training and housing of our Capitol Police canines. The Division of K-9, our Division K-9 teams have been in existence since 2000, and I really can't emphasize how important these teams are. And where's Brian Alexander and Denny? Always in the back doing their job, but come on up, Brian. So since 2011, Brian and Denny and others have been deployed, and this is a monumental number when I went back and looked at some of the statistics. But our K-9 teams have been deployed over 8,900 utilizations in serving the Richmond metro area. These utilizations encompass proactive sweeps with our state facilities, responding to bomb threats, K-9 demonstrations, and numerous requests to support many large events in and around the Richmond metro region. Some of those events were presidential visits, NASCAR events, sporting events, as well as providing vital coverage for over hundreds of rallies in the past decade around Capitol Square. It's my honor and privilege to recognize our dedicated K-9s who serve today and have served with the Division of Capitol Police. And I would like to share with you the names. Of these dedicated public safety K-9s that have served proudly with our agency. TJ, Tonka, Troy, Chino, Ottos, Spike, Gunner, Lucy, Dennis, and Levi. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for what y'all do.
Thank you, Colonel Pike. Now I'd like to speak a little bit about our third project we're recognizing today, the North Drive entrance to Capitol Square and the adjacent 9th Street sidewalk. DGS has made improvements to the 9th Street sidewalk to make it safer and more inviting to Capitol Square visitors. DGS installed light fixtures that match the lamp post on Capitol Square, replaced the concrete sidewalk that was in disrepair with brick herringbone pattern consistent with the brick pavers seen throughout Capitol Square, and replaced damaged granite curbs. The North Drive entrance underwent a historic restoration. When the historic cast and wrought iron fence that you see around us today at Capitol Square was originally constructed in 1818, it included gates at the North Drive entryway. We paid homage to the original design with the restoration by reintroducing the gated entry. In addition, a new Capitol Police guardhouse was constructed at the entrance, replacing the structure that stood on the west side of the equestrian statue. A security bollard system has been installed on North Drive, and a new paving and landscape materials also were installed in keeping with the context of Capitol Square. In the garden bed next to the guardhouse, DGS and DCP installed a memorial plaque in honor of Master Officer Buddy Dowdy. I would like to invite Colonel Pike back up to the podium to say a few words about Officer Dowdy.
Thank you, Joe. Governor, over the past decade, there's significant security upgrades have been a priority for the Division of Capitol Police and the Department of General Services. The security enhancements at Post 1 are part of the Capitol Square physical security upgrades that include security refinements across Capitol Square. The original Post 1 was authorized during the tenure of J. Lindsay Allman, who served from 1958 to 1962 as Virginia's 58th governor. Before Allman's administration, Capitol police officers stood out in the snow, rain, sleet, and other inclement weather while on duty at the Executive Mansion and at the main public entrance to Capitol Square. Allman and his wife Josephine wanted Capitol police officers to have shelter, so two guardhouses were constructed, one along the circular driveway from the Executive Mansion and the other against the western fence of the Washington Equestrian Statue Monument. What we all remember is a very small white guardhouse beside the Washington Monument statue was constructed in 1960. While the need for enhanced physical security is unquestionable in this fast-changing world, there's another vital factor in the equation, that's human care. In addition, when you talk about human stewardship, at Post 1 you always hear conversations about Master Capitol Police Officer Woodrow W. Buddy Dowdy III. For well in excess of a decade before we lost him in March of last year, Buddy's primary assignment was Post 1. With a gentle, steady, friendly demeanor, Buddy made everyone who passed Post 1 feel like he was personally responsible for their safekeeping during their visit at Capitol Square. The care, compassion he demonstrated for each and every elected official, state employee, and the thousands of annual visitors set such a high standard that we are still receiving individual acknowledgments of his professional service 9 months after his passing. I can think of no one who exuded our core values of character, devotion, professionalism more than Buddy Dowdy. While I'm extremely grateful and thankful to everyone who has made possible these physical improvements, I pledge to you my commitment to keep alive the spirit of Buddy Dowdy by assuring that the men and women of the Division of Capitol Police treat everyone who passes through this area with the respect, dignity, and courtesy that is a hallmark at Virginia Capitol Square. And I'd like to take this opportunity now to introduce Miss Cheryl Dowdy, Buddy's wife, and Miss Dowdy, if you could come forward. Buddy and Cheryl were married on this date, January 7th of 1995. So I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Colonel Pike. Thank you very much. Governor Northam, Colonel Pike, Secretary Johnson, Mr. D'Amico, distinguished guest. On behalf of Buddy and the entire Dowdy family, thank you for this honor. I am humbled and grateful for the outpouring of love, admiration, and gratitude for Buddy's years of service to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Buddy was a rare combination of conscientiousness, kindness, and good humor. I know those traits served him well, protecting all of you at the Capitol, training his co-workers, or even while giving directions to the lost tourist who swore Google Maps told her to take the right turn into North Drive. Buddy was a kind man who exemplified strength and honor. He loved being outdoors, tending to our garden, then sitting down to a good home-cooked meal. I loved cooking for him, and he loved taking seconds and thirds. We made many special memories with our travels through the years, starting with our first trip to Myrtle Beach and our last one to Canton. Buddy's favorite activities included kayaking with our son, working on his '76 Camaro, and cheering on his Green Bay Packers. You know he had a cheese head, and he wore it. As much as Buddy loved us, he was absolutely devoted to his work family at the Division of Capitol Police. He was ready and eager every day to interact with all of you. Your safety was his #1 priority, yet he also enjoyed sharing his knowledge of the Capitol's history. As Speaker Howell remarked a few years ago, it only seems that Buddy has been here since 1618. I am very thankful for the recognition of Buddy's efforts. Bud would have loved this. Thank you again for this permanent tribute at Post 1 to my husband and friend, Master Patrol Officer Woodrow W. Dowdy III. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dowdy. And thank you all for joining us today to dedicate these projects in honor of Dr. Reed, Master Officer Buddy Dowdy, the town's family, and for their years of service to the Commonwealth, and First Lieutenant Sargent for his service to our nation. This concludes the program portion of the event. We now invite you to visit the 3 sites and learn more about the projects from our DGS project managers and our design teams. The Chief of Staff, Clark Mercer, is going to take some folks over to the 9th Street sidewalk where we have a ribbon cutting that David Bailey and Preston Bryant will help us with. And Aaron, is he still here? Were we able to get Mr. Reed on, Dr. Reed on? No? Okay. Thank you all for joining us, and please go visit the sites.